We're going to read from the Caitanya caritamrta, Adi Lila, the first part of the chapter 1, text 55. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girbhardhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girbhardhari Pijanavallabha Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girbhardhari Gopi Janavallabha Girbhardhari Jasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanacharim Jamuna Tira Vanacharim Jamuna Tira Vanacharim Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Srivasadi Go Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama Rama, Jaya Radha, Radhanath, Radha Radhanath, Radhe. Jaya Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan. Jaya Gaura Hare, Gaura Hare, Gaura Hare, Jaya Gaura Hare, Gaura Hare, Gaura Hare, Jaya Gaura, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Go Premanandi, Sri Sri Radharanath ki, Sri Giriraj Govardhan ki, Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu Gaur Hari ki, Sri Panchatattva ki, ISKCON Foundation Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantharaj Sri Caitanya caritamrta ki, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj ki, Srila Prabhupada's Transcendental Purports ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Run to the verse. Oh, it's back on. So this is the verse we are doing today. But before we will chant the invocation for the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you can repeat after me. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So this is the verse we're doing today. Yata Mahani Bhutani, Yata Mahani Bhutani, Bhutesu cha vacheshvanu, Bhuteshu cha vasheshvanu, Prabhasitanya pravishtani, Pravistanya pravistani, Tata teshuna teshvaham, Tata teshuna teshvaham, Yata mahanti bhutani, Bhutesu cha vateshvanu, Pravistanya pravistani, Tata teshna teshubham. Anybody wants to read? Loud, loud, I can't hear you. Yata mahanti bhutani, Bhuteshu cha vasheshvanu, Pravishtanya pravishtani tatateshu nateshvaham yatamahanti bhutani bhuteshu cha vashashvanu pravishtanya pravishtani tatateshna teshuvaham yata has Mahanti, the universal. Okay. Bhutani, elements. Bhuteshu, in the living entities. Uchavasheshu, both gigantic and minute. Anu, after. Pravishtani, situated it internally. Apravistani, situated externally. Tata, so. Teshu, in them. Na, not. Teshu, in them. Aham, I. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Srila Prabhupada ki. Has the material elements entered the bodies of all living beings, and yet remains outside them all. I exist within all material creations, and I am not within them. You can repeat responsibly. Has the material elements entered the bodies of all living beings, and yet remain outside them all. I exist within all material creations, and yet am not within them. Purport. The gross material elements. No, it's fine. I'm reading. You can read there, follow it there. The gross material elements, such as earth, water, fire, air, and ether, combined with the subtle material elements, mind, intelligence, and false ego, to construct the bodies of this material world. And yet, they are beyond these bodies as well. Any material construction is nothing but an amalgamation or combination of material elements in varied proportions. These elements exist both within and beyond the body. For example, although the sky exists in space, it also enters within the body. Similarly, the Supreme Lord, who is the cause of the material energy, lives within the material world as well as beyond it. Without His presence, without the material world, this cosmic body could not develop, just as without the presence of the Spirit within the physical body, the body could not develop. The entire material manifestation develops and exists because the Supreme Personality of Godhead enters it as Paramatma, or the Supersoul. The Personality of Godhead, in all its pervading feature of Paramatma, enters every entity from the biggest to the most minute. His existence can be realized by one who has the single qualification of submissiveness and who thereby becomes a surrendered soul. The development of submissiveness is the cause of proportionate spiritual realization, by which one can ultimately meet the Supreme Lord in person, as a man meets another man face to face. Because of his development of transcendental attachment for the Supreme Lord, a surrendered soul feels the presence of his beloved everywhere, and all his senses are engaged in the loving service of the Lord. His eyes are engaged in seeing the beautiful couple, Sri Radha and Krishna, sitting on a decorated throne beneath a desired tree in the transcendental land of Vrindavan. His nose is engaged in smelling the spiritual aroma of the lotus feet of the Lord. Similarly, his ears are engaged in hearing messages from Vaikuntha, and his hands embrace the lotus feet of the Lord and his associates. Thus the Lord is manifested to a pure devotee from within and without. This is one of the mysteries of the devotional relationship in which A devotee and the Lord are bound by a tie of spontaneous love. To achieve this love should be the goal of life for every living being. Om Jnana Tirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumalitam Jaina Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Caitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swa Padantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunat Anvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Aripre Vanchakalpa Tarobhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyahevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya So in this chapter, or this verse is particularly the Lord's energies are being discussed in the Svetasvatara Upanishad. It is said that the Lord has multifarious energies. Multifarious means they unlimited. Like Lord Brahma is saying in the Brahma Samhita, Advaitam Achutam Ananta Rupam. What that means? Advaitam Achutam Ananda Rupam. Ananda Rupa means he has unlimited forms. We may see some of his Krishnas in his in his original form here, but we also see his expansions, how he expands into different incarnations or avatars for the sake of creation. And for the sake of discussion, or the most prominent of his energies, marginal in Sanskrit is called Tatastha Shakti. Say? Tatastha Shakti. Then there's Antaranga Shakti. And then there's Bahiranga Shakti. This is all explained in the Upanishad, describing these different. The Lord has a spiritual energy, he has a material energy, and he has a marginal energy. Now where do we fall? Yes? What? Why are we described as marginal or Tatastha Shakti? As Lord Chaitanya outlines in describing what is our identity. Jivara Swarubhai, Krishnara Nitya Das. Lord Chaitanya is saying like that, the living entity, or we, the jiva, means the soul, especially in the human form of life, is an eternal servant of God. Krishnara Nitya Das. Nitya means eternal. Das means servant, Krishna, of the Supreme Lord. So this is how is given our identity as we are eternal servants of God. Then in the next line he says, Krishna tatastha shakti. What is saying? Krishna tatastha shakti, Vedaha Veda, Prakash. He's saying, we are Krishna's tatastha shakti, we are his marginal energy. And we are Vedaha Veda, means inconceivably one, and we are different. You understand? We are inconceivably one and different. You understand that? That is our position. That we're not God. Don't hide the idea that one day I'll be God. God doesn't become God. God is always God in the lap of his mother. When he was 3 months old, he manifested all the Shaktis of fighting demons. You see, he's a young boy, he's fighting demons. He didn't become God, didn't develop some mystic power and then became. God is always God. So give up that idea that one day you'll think. So we are eternally marginal. Marginal means we can hover between spiritual and the material. We have that free will. God has given us. That's his inconceivable nature. Why he's given us that free will. Otherwise there's no meaning to God. God has to give us free will to love him or not to love him. We have that free will. To accept or not to. It's not some indoctrinated, forced upon religious kind. That is not natural. When you force something, like during the Inquisition, people were forced to accept or they were burnt at the stake or beheaded, isn't it? You see that very fanatical kind of religiosity, isn't there? But he's saying here, in these Shaktis, especially the material energy, he's saying, Bhumi in Bhagavad Gita is Bhumi Ratu Bimu Apunalo Vayu Kam. What he's saying? Bhumi means earth, water, fire, ether. Ether means the sky. Or sky, and later we can see how these manifest into different, and this is how you get your body. But he starts with basically these elements, which Krishna is saying, they are Binna Prakriti. They are my separated energies. Why is he saying like that? Because they are not conscious. They are not conscious. They are dead, inert matter. Like this body, it's made of this combination of these 5 and these 3 subtle, 5 gross elements and the 3 subtle elements. What is the subtle elements? Mind, intelligence, and false ego. These are subtle because you cannot see. If actually show me your intelligence, can you show me your intelligence? Can you show me your mind? No. Therefore they are subtle. We cannot see. But the gross elements we can see. Isn't the sense of touch, the sense of smell, the sense of sight, sense of touch, feeling. They are gross. We can see that. It's within our. So these are, but what animates this body? Krishna speaks of another energy. The spiritual energy. In the next verse of that chapter 7, he says, besides these, besides the 5 gross, and he says, besides these, O mighty Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mine, which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. So what is he speaking about? What is that superior nature? It means the soul. That is of a higher nature, that is of a spiritual nature. We speak of anti-material. It is not subject to material conditions. It is anti-material. It is a spiritual entity. And God is also a spiritual entity. So these, the soul without the presence of the soul, we know this body is, what we say, dead. Technically it is. There's no life. It has no life. But what gives life to this body is the presence of that spiritual spark, which is given in different, described as jiva. Jiva means also soul. Atma. Atma is also soul. Yes, the living entity means the living entity not only in human form of life, but in all species of life. In all species, they all have souls. You follow? We cannot say a dog doesn't have soul and treat him or mistreat him, or say the cow doesn't have soul, we can kill it and eat it. Can you? No, while they're living, they have soul. And within that soul is a super soul. The Paramatma is accompanying every living entity in his journey while he's living in the material world, whether it's in a human form of life or whether it's in a lower forms of life, whether it's in a Bhuteshu. Yeah, these are living entities described like that. And Krishna is in the chapter 5 of Bhagavad Gita says, I am situated in everyone's heart. How? As a friend. Surit. I am present as a well-wisher. As a well-wisher. And who you want anybody to be your best friend or your best well-wisher is to have God. You may have friends, but those friends may not be really your friends. Isn't? They may dare to exploit you in so many ways. There's a saying, I see on a taxi, when days are dark, friends are few. You saw that one behind the taxi. When days are dark, friends are few. So while you have all the resources and you're entertaining, they're your friends. Isn't? But when you have nothing, they desert you. You have nothing. But Krishna is always there. The Lord as Paramatma is there. Whether you a criminal or whether you're a saint, a do-gooder, whether you're in an animal body or insect body, He's always there in every, whether you're in a plant. So the soul is present in all living entities. Yes. And they basically, the material concept of earth, water, fire exists in all. As the Christians say, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. That's why we go back to the elements. After either we cremated or we buried, the body is finished, isn't it? It becomes decomposed and it goes back to these elements. Earth, water, gomir, apo, nala, vayu, kam. Like that. So to understand this, it's called Sankhya. Sankhya philosophy means to analyze what is matter and what is spirit and come to the conclusion. Yes, we follow the Sankhya to come to the root cause of everything. Like the scientists analyze, they also analyzing the creation. But all this is, why we have to break our head and go through all these studious academic studies when it's all in Bhagavad Gita or in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Authentic from the Vedas. It's there. Why? You have to go to university and break your head, isn't? Why? This is the real university. Prabhupada said yes, when he was visiting all these different very Harvard and Princeton, all these in America, Columbus. And he said, yes, you have a department for this, that faculty, that faculty, that faculty. But where is the faculty that speaks about the soul? And what he's speaking about here? Where is that faculty? And that is fundamental understanding of spiritual life. Hare Krishna. Sri Radharanath ki, Sri Giriraj Kavadan ki, Koranga Mahaprabhu Gaur Hare ki, Shri Prabhupada ki. Where is that faculty? So we go through the system of education, but the motivation for that type of is to for some material, isn't it? You want a good job, you want to be recognized, you want to be whatever ambitious you are, isn't it? But it's all on a material platform. But it doesn't give you a clue how to get out of the material world. It just immerses you more into this, like in a spider's web. The more you try to get out, isn't it? Like an insect is caught, and the more it tries to struggle, the more it gets caught in the web. So this is material life. When the false ego takes prominence and it controls the intelligence and the mind and misleads us into a false sense of happiness, a false sense of, oh, this material world is a wonderful place. And we look forward and we start, isn't a kind of accumulating all kinds of, isn't material needs. We want wife, you want nice children, you want a nice house, you want a nice motor car. But you have to work so hard for all these things. They come with a price, isn't? But doesn't mean that we don't pursue these things. But we have to do it in a balanced way. Spiritual life with material life. Yeah, and strike a balance. Yes, we cannot go extremely on one side. Neither can we go extremely on the other side, isn't? So there has to be a balance. Religion and philosophy. Religion and philosophy must be there. Religion without philosophy is what? Religion without philosophy? Prabhupada said. Anybody knows what is that? Religion without philosophy is fanaticism. What? And philosophy without religion is mental speculation. Yeah, so both must be there. Philosophy and religion. Therefore, to understand God, we have to know what constitutes and what, and he's trying gradually to these energies of his, knowing these energies and knowing how we play a part as part of his energy. We are part and parcel of him. We are his part and parcels. Yes. We are eternally his part and parcels. And that comes with knowledge, having knowledge of these things. So if you have to pursue that type of, that will advance us in that way, that will take us and give us focus. Yes. Okay, I got to finish my degree, whatever, but at the same time I have to pursue the goal of life. Yeah, it's saying the goal of life for every living being. What is the goal of life? So if a human being doesn't make inquiry like that, Atato Brahma Gigya, this is the aphorism, the first aphorism in the Vedanta Sutra. Atato Brahma Gigyas. What is that? Atato Brahma means now. Now means, now I have this human form of life. I should use it to make Brahma Gigyas, means to make inquiry into the absolute truth. If I'm not, then I'm failing as a human being. I come in ignorance and I leave this body in ignorance. I come in this world in ignorance and I live in ignorance. So this inquiry must be there. What is inquiry? Into the absolute truth. That is a fundamental principle of human life. We have to make that inquiry when we take birth in the material, especially in a human form. Only in a human form of life can we do that. Can we rationalize what is right, what is wrong, who am I, who is God, what is my relationship with God. These are all fundamental understanding of that. If one doesn't understand that is spirit, then what is the point? How will you understand something greater? It becomes a basic, fundamental that I am different from this body. Deva Krishna in chapter 2, he labors on that. So many verses he gives, defining the nature, our real nature. We are infinitesimal, everlasting, eternal. We cannot die. When he speaks of the soul, when he speaks of the body, it means the body takes birth. If the body takes birth, then it must die. Obviously, isn't it? But the soul, there's no history in time when the soul came into being. It's always been there. and the soul is eternal. So this is fundamental understanding of spiritual life. So in the beginning of Church is there, and right in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is also enlightening us on that aspect of this Sankhya understanding. Understanding this, the nature of the soul. Dehinosman yatha dehe komaran jovanam jara tatada antara prapti dhirasthatsa namuyati. What that means? He says, as embodied soul, this is the most often quoted verse in Bhagavad. You know the reference? Chapter 2 text 13. What? Chapter 2 text 13 is one of the most often, you can research it. One of the most often quoted verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Dehinosman yatha dehe komaran jovanam jara tatadantara papti dhirastatra namuyati. What it means? It says, as embodied soul continually passes from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes on at the time of death. Then he's saying, a sober person, dhira means a sober is not bewildered by all these changes. A sober person means one who understands the science of the soul and his body. He understands, he's sober, or he will say, is knowledgeable. One who understands that. And we see this taking birth and growing, isn't it? We see that in every sphere of life, isn't it? In different entities, we see that, isn't it? Whether they're in Hindu body or African, white, Greek, Jew, they're all going through these motions of, isn't it? So is the Bhagavad Gita very scientifically explaining this? It's a science. It's not referring just to one who has taken Indian body. It applies to everyone who's taken birth in this material world. Everyone. Not only in human form, even you see in the cats and dogs, they also have, isn't it? They bring up and they grow and they develop and they gradually they become old and they perish. So likewise, from boyhood to youth to old age. So this is, understanding this is like science, it's very scientific. Understanding of knowledge. And we should approach like that. Not that Bhagavad Gita is for Hindus, Indians only. No, it's for mankind. Whoever's taken birth in this material world, or even the higher planets, there's living entities all over. We may just have knowledge of this world, but how much do we know? I mean of this world? Very sparse, isn't it? But what to speak of other universes, and there's billions of universes. Yes, so it's like a seed in a bag of mustard seeds. One mustard seed in a bag of, can you count how many mustard seeds? So if you have to understand Who are you? Try to analyze that. Oh, I'm so. What's your name? Tando. Where are you from? Marisburg. Johannesburg. Which street in Johannesburg? Soweto. Street? Okay. So Tando lives in a certain house in a street in a suburb of Soweto. And Soweto is one city or one town in the province of Gauteng. And Gauteng is of many provinces in South Africa. And this South Africa is one little continent in the whole of Africa. And this Africa is one of many continents. So how small are you? I used to read this. Actually, I was very fond of reading, and there was a book called Argosy, and explained all this. How small are you? I read it there. I remember that, and it ties up with everything in spiritual life. It's how small, how insignificant. But what makes us think we have this inflated ego, isn't this false ego, ahankar? But doesn't mean we don't have an ego. Ego must be there. Ego means I am. I am. Aham brahmasmi. I am spirit. Doesn't mean we give up the ego. No, we don't give. We give up the false ego. Understand? And through realization we come to understand our real ego. Through realization, self-realization, or through God realization. We eventually understand that, yes, the ego means I am spirit. But the false ego misleads us in so many ways, ahankar. And this is all explained very graphically in Bhagavad Gita. It speaks of this body as a kshetra, as a field. And all these elements, they come into play, interact. How these 5 elements come and they interact, how they manifest. And there's a permutation, 5, and there's 5 knowledge acquiring senses, there's 5 working senses, there's 3 subtle senses, like that, and they all add up, they come to 24 elements, including the soul, which is the 25th element, that animates this body. Of course, the time factor, everything is churned by the duration of time, Kala Shakti, time factor. This whole creation is based on. Bhagavad Gita is the subject matter of 5. You know what's the 5 subject matters of Bhagavad Gita? No? Right in the introduction, where's the Bhakti students here? What are the 5 subject matters of Bhagavad Gita? Yes? 1? Prakriti. What is Prakriti? Yes, thank you. Another one? Come on, it's basic stuff. The Jiva. We spoke about that. The Jiva is the soul. Then, if there's Jiva, there must be Ishvara, the controller, God. Another one I mentioned? Kala, the time factor. Another one? Karma. Yes, karma is the activity that gives you this material body. How did I come here? Through my karma. Not God. Don't blame God for your activities. God didn't put you here. You came by your own desire to be here. This whole material creation was created to fulfill the desires of the living entities. Otherwise, there was no need for God to create this material world. There was no need. Because the living entities rebelled and they wanted to be God, or they wanted to enjoy like God, so God said, all right. Like a child, this is a very crude analogy. He says, the child or the little girl is watching a mother cook on the stove. And the stove, is very hot. And dangerous for kids. So the child says to the mother, I want to cook like you. So mother, maybe you can't. You'll get burned, But I'll buy you a tea set. I'll buy you a toy stove so you can play like you're cooking there. You get some mud and grass. And you follow what I'm saying? So God, likewise, God has given us material world to live out our fantasy of whatever we desire to be. Follow? Yes. So probably use the word phantasmagoria. Very nice word. Phantasmagoria means all those things, the illusory energy of this material, how it leads us astray, isn't it, from our reality. The reality is we have to get love of God. Krishna Prem. Everybody looking for God. Even the most, atheistic. For atheists to exist, there must be God. Right? He's saying, Krishna is saying, Yayatamam prapadyante. As you surrender to me, I reward you proportionately. To that degree we surrender. To that degree gives us knowledge to understanding. Yayatamam prapadyante. As you surrender, I reward you accordingly. And that surrender is not very easy. Because when we come to the material world, apart from this material body, what is this material body comprise? It's birth, death, disease, old age. You cannot avoid that. You cannot? Can you avoid getting old? No. Can you remember when you were a little toddler in your nappies, running around? Can you? Some vague memory, isn't it? Playing with your pet dog or running after your father or mother, playing with your siblings, isn't? But now you're at this age, you maybe, say 18, 19 years, 20? Okay. So 10 years time now you'll be finished in university, you'll be most probably looking for a job, isn't? Then you want to get married, isn't? Right? Then you want to start a family. Then that's material life. But doesn't mean we shouldn't, because that is there. In the Vedas, it is there. The ashram, varna and ashram is there. For a civilized society, it must exist. Varna means the social order. Ashram means the spiritual order. There's a social order and there's a spiritual order. The spiritual order is, you're a student now. It's called brahmachari life. You're a student. Right? Then as you progress, you graduate from, then the next step is household life. Isn't it? Grihastha. Then at a certain age, when you're 50 plus, your children are big, then you think of, renouncing, isn't? I did my duty, I brought these children up, educated them. Now I have to think of my life. That is called vanapras. Vana means forest. In those days they would renounce, they would go to the forest. Like the householders who are finished with household life, then they go to the forest. And then at a certain age they take sannyas or renounce completely from family life or material life. So that is there, very scientifically. So if you live for 100 years and 25 years, from 5 to 25, you were a student. Or like that, then you graduate. And household life. Household life from the age of 50, we should then start coming down, not thinking of more, increasing more, getting more wives, accumulating more children. No, downgrade. That is spiritual life. We have to have a balance. Because all these things will just keep you, anchored to this material world. So we have to have realization, yes, what do I want? Where am I going from here? Where am I going from here? We should ask that question. Where am I going from here? We see around us people are dying. Isn't? We see that. And we see people get sick and diseased. Isn't? Because that's the nature of this body. This body is made to give you pain. Like a motor car. It's like a motor car. A yantra, machine. Isn't? It has to get hold. And Prabhupada said, taking a material body in a material world is like we have a bad bargain. We have we have to contend with bad, death, disease, old age. And these we cannot escape from. That is the bad bargain. But how to make the best use of a bad bargain is to take to Krishna consciousness. To take to Krishna consciousness, yes. Or God consciousness. Become God conscious, become self-realized. Seeing all these things. And Dhira, sober, will see all these things and say, yeah, there must be something higher than all this suffering here. That is a thoughtful person. Will see like that. That is intelligence. We all have intelligence. And Krishna is saying, Sarvasya Chaham, Ridi Shani Vishto. I am seated in everyone's heart. And from me comes Mata Smitir Jnanam Hapahanam Cha. From me comes remembrance, forgetfulness, and knowledge. Comes from Krishna. And to explain in the 7th chapter Bhagavad Gita how to see Krishna in these different energies. And he gives on many very nice examples, analogies. He says, I am the taste in water. I am the taste in Rasaham Apsukauntaya. He's telling Arjuna, I am the taste in water. We take water for granted, isn't it? We waste so much of water. But when there's no water, when there's scarcity of water, when you have to walk miles and carry buckets of water, we see that, isn't it? Even in this 21st century, we see that. People are still living very primitively. You go to Sudan and all these places, or even here in Africa, water. So how valuable commodity it is in Krishna. I am that taste in water. And water, we know, is used in so many industries, isn't it? To make whiskey and wine. So even a drunk man will say, Hare Krishna, and he drinks, he'll make advancement. It's acknowledging, yes, it's coming from Krishna. You follow? Because the water is the basic commodity for all these things. So that's how valuable. I'm the taste in water. Or, I'll give you another. When you're in a desert, you're marooned and desert, there's no water, isn't it? You walk for miles and miles and you're lost in the desert and you're about dying almost, isn't it? And suddenly you stumble upon an oasis and then you dive into and then that thirst, quenching of that thirst is Krishna. That quenching of that thirst is Krishna. Yes, that life without water, without air, we cannot exist. Isn't? But Krishna gives us independence. How is that? That's so inconceivable, isn't it? He gives us independence not to remember Him, not to acknowledge all these things. And yet, same time, He wants you back to Him. Like the prodigal son, you know the story in the Bible. The prodigal son, you know, he wanted his father's wealth so he could go away. He just wanted, and his father gave him so much. And within a short period of time, he squandered everything on prostitutes and sense enjoyment. And then he wanted to come back. But in meantime, his father is wondering, how's my son? Is he still alive? Sometimes when it happens to us, when we all of a sudden we leave home and the parents are worried. Every day, isn't it? When you go to university, will you come back? Isn't they happy to see you back? Yes, son, cook nice food for you, come. They're happy to see you back. But when you don't see for a while, what happens? Then anxiety. So likewise, God, in that same vein, is an anxiety that when will the souls come back to me? Because they're all part and parcel of me. Whether we go astray. But when we make that comeback, then He's very pleased. He will give us all the facility to come back to Him. Yes, He will make all the arrangements, and through so many avenues, through the spiritual master, through the devotees, and through the revealed scriptures, isn't? He will make some arrangement like that. And then now I was lost, now I'm found. Isn't? What is that song we sing? Amazing Grace. You know, I'm sure you come from a Christian background. No. You all know that. Anyway, Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound. Isn't? That saved a wretch like me. A wretch. So we all wretched. When we don't have God, we are wretched. We are in that condition of suffering. Blind, blinded. I was blind, now I can see. And who opens our eyes with the torchlight of knowledge? Isn't? Om Jnana Timirandasya Kananjana Shalak. We pray like that, isn't? Om Jnana. We pray to the spiritual master, acknowledging the Guru who is opening our eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. We're paying homage to him. Because Timirandasya, Agyan means ignorance. He's taken out of that ignorance. Therefore we acknowledge him like that. Every day we pray, we worship the spiritual, because he's the spiritual master, is the via medium. In the culture of Vaishnavism, we worship God through the spiritual, not directly to God. We worship God through the medium of the spiritual. If you look at the altar, you'll see, isn't there's a disciplic succession from Prabhupada to his. You've seen, you noticed? Yes? Then we see Krishna, then we see Radha and Krishna. So we go through that. When we offer praise, we offer through the spiritual master, because the spiritual master is taking that, accepting that on Krishna's behalf and offering it to Krishna. We're not qualified. We are not qualified to see God. Neither should we try to see God. Because not in this condition we cannot see God. But Bhaktisiddhanta, Prabhupada's Guru Maharaj said, don't try to see God, but act in such a way that God sees you. Don't try to see God, but act in such a way that God sees you. Yeah. People, they want to see God. But do we have the qualification to see God? No, we all in our conditioned life, we blunt senses, how can we appreciate? When these senses, sense of smell, touch, they have to be purified. Otherwise we're using the senses for our own sense gratification. We're seeing these eyes, we're looking for a beautiful girl, isn't? Or we smell something from the Kentucky, or I'm just saying, not saying isn't these smells? But when we come to spiritual life, we utilize the senses, we purify them by smelling the senses, or offering the senses to the Supreme. Offering these senses to the owner of the senses, who is Krishna, is known as Rishikesh. Another name for Krishna is Rishikesh. He's the owner of he knows our senses. But same time he's not interfering, whether he's not. He's giving us free will to do whatever you want. Giving a long rope. Till you get frustrated in the material world, and then you turn back. That is intelligence. We see like that and accept. But we have to know these things. These are all academic stuff, technical stuff. To understand God, we have to understand His energies and how He's operating. in this material world through his energies. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Oh. Anybody has questions, comments? Hare Krishna. 5 minutes we'll give you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thanks for your very coherent class and very palatable, because today we have Nkulu Leko and Tando from BYS.
Welcome.
And this, they say a good teacher is somebody who can simplify something extremely esoteric. And you've done that, so I appreciate it. Very nice. Hare Krishna.
Jai Prabhupada. We're just repeating what Prabhupada is saying. I'm just the medium presenting it. But if you appreciate it like that, I'm happy. I did something. You have a question? No. Hare Krishna. You want to ask a question? All right, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantaraj Chaitanya Charitamrta ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Oh, not my book. Yes, book belongs here. Huh? Good. Thank you. My loud, booming voice.
I like their examples.
Okay.
This Sanskrit translated in English, and I can hear it. Sometimes I can't hear it.
Okay.
Speaking very softly or fast. But anyway, you're a teacher, so you know.
We try. Hare Krishna. Right, all set.